All right, everybody. This is the Western Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Johnson. And on this podcast, we talk about guys who live in the East or live in states where there are no elk and there are no mule deer, and kind of help prepare them for, or ask questions and learn from experience. And because we are all kind of Western rookies, especially if we don't hunt elk, mule deer, antelope, bighorn, moose every single year. And that's the goal of this podcast, is to get as much information about people who have done it before, whether they're experienced or in that novice category like myself. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert at anything west of Nebraska, right? If there's mule deer that live there, I have no idea what I'm doing to this day. And so I like to learn from people. So today's guest, Mr. Jake Ramsey. Jake, man, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Are you a caffeine consumer?
Yeah, but I try to cut that off before 9 a.m. I try not to do anything after that. So
Really? Okay, that takes guts.
yeah.
That takes guts, dude. I'm
Well,
a guy who
sleep's a
needs it like
premium.
all day. Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you drink
I try to
coffee,
make sure that I'm ready for bed when it's time to go to bed. So
okay, but if you drink caffeine past 9 a.m., does it actually affect your sleep later on in the day?
it can, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I'm a light sleeper anyway, so I'm maybe 5 hours a night, if that.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's yeah. So I'm trying to get as much of it as I can, and yeah, so anything that disrupts that, I try not to partake in, but sometimes, late at night, you might have a little caffeine mixed with some brown water, but other than that, I try not to.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Okay. You're here today because I was looking for some guests idea, and you said that you've been out to Colorado,
Yeah.
2 times now with a group of
Yep.
guys.
Mhm.
You live in Pennsylvania. And
Yep.
so as we start to unfold, what got you into that, what the logistics look like for you
Mhm.
on those first couple hunts. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to send a shout out to the partner of the Western Rookie Podcast, and that is Montana, or two, the partners of the Western Rookie Podcast. The first one is Wasp Archery. I've been shooting Wasp now for like 15 years, their heads for 15 years. Absolutely love their mechanicals and their fixed blades. Each one has its own purpose. And so if you're looking for a broadhead that is more than likely manufactured in the United States, most of their heads are still manufactured in the United States, go check out wasparchery.com. Discount code NFC20 for 20% off. Next on the list is Montana Decoy. Lightweight packable decoys for mule deer, whitetail, elk, pronghorn, you name it, they have it. It's it's fabric with lightweight poles that you can like stick in the ground, hide behind a little bit. Long story short, the packability allows you to get into the kill bubble of whatever animal you're trying to hunt. And that's a good thing. So MontanaDecoy.com. All right. Jake Ramsey, Pennsylvania. Well, I would say there's no elk in Pennsylvania, but there
There
is
are.
actually elk in how
Yeah.
far do you apply for that elk tag every year as a resident?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't, only because I need an excuse to go out west.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get drawn for an elk tag here, then I gotta hunt here in Pennsylvania. I know my dad does. He puts in for
Mm-hmm.
the tag. I know of a few guys that put in and have been successfully drawn and have gone on some hunts. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite the herd. It's a really great story.
Yeah.
Some really trophy elk here in PA.
Yeah.
And there are, there's definitely some spots where they're sort of like tame animals where they kind of
Mm-hmm.
hang out in people's yards, but then they're in the wilds too.
Yeah.
And you can, from what I understand, you can really hunt them like elk. So,
Yeah. That's crazy, man. So like you got states like Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Missouri, and I'm thinking
mhm.
of like all these quote unquote Midwestern states
Yeah,
that have them. And I'm sure that they're leaking into other states,
yeah.
as far as, if they're in Kentucky, they might be into Tennessee or Virginia or whatever the case
Mhm.
is. So
Yep.
that's pretty cool to see like that species kind of getting back, because from what I understand, they were all over the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah,
So that's
Pennsylvania
pretty.
was part of the native range,
Yeah,
and it's great to see those animals come back and be restored to areas where they thrived previously,
yeah,
and you know,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Okay, let's talk about that this elk hunting trip. These two trips that you've gone on.
yeah, yeah,
What sparked the idea with you and your buddies that was just like, hey, let's give elk a try?
yeah. So I had I met a guy through my brother-in-law, and we became fast friends. Spent a lot of time fishing together, and we were out on the Juniata River one summer fishing smallmouth, and he said, "Hey, I go out on this trip out west every couple of years." He'd been going out with his father-in-law, and he said, "Hey, I think you'd like it. Do you want to go?" And
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely something that I'd always thought about doing, um, and just never really, I don't know, never had the courage to do it, maybe,
Mhm.
or just never really felt like I had the time or finances. But we were in a different place and a different time in my life. My kids were a little bit more grown and self sufficient, so
Mhm.
before talking to my wife, I said, "Yeah, I'm in. Count me in." And then I had to go
Yeah.
home and talk to the missus and get that final thumbs up. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just was a conversation while we were fishing. He thought I would enjoy it, and about a year and a half later, we were in a truck headed out to Colorado.
Awesome. Was was the initial conversation about weapon as well? Like, was this an always going to be an archery hunt, firearm hunt? What was the deal?
Yeah, so they had traditionally gone out for that inline muzzleloader season. So Colorado
Okay.
has a 1 week inline muzzleloader. It's open sights, so no scopes, and you have to use black powder.
Hmm.
No saboted bullets, so it has to be straight wall, or it has to be direct to the wall.
Right.
And so yeah, that's what they've done traditionally. They had taken bows out because it does occur during that elk archery season as well, and you could
Yeah.
buy archery elk tags over the counter. So if they got into their area and there were some elk, they would, head back to town and buy tags over the counter. So, um,
Gotcha.
but you could, the way that the tags worked was it, it's a draw.
Hmm.
You pick a unit. We picked a unit in the White River National Forest, and then you can draw for mule deer, antlered mule deer, and then you also draw for an elk tag. Obviously, each one of those costs money to put in
Hmm.
individually, and then there's different odds on drawing based on the unit and the demand for the tags.
Yeah.
Because those guys had a head start on me, the first year we went out, they were able to draw both elk and mule deer tags for the inline season. I was able to draw a mule deer tag only, which is fine by me. I was the first trip was all about the experience,
Right.
so I just needed a tag in my pocket to hunt out there, and that's kind of what I was going for.
Was this primarily a an elk hunting trip, or was this and go? Did you know that you were going to an area where you were going to run into mule deer and elk?
Yeah. So they had hunted this particular area and were very,
Yeah.
very familiar with it from years past. I mean,
Yeah.
my buddy's father-in-law had been going out there since the '90s, and they
Hmm.
were going like every other year.
Yeah.
And so there were always elk in the area. There was always mule deer in the area. It was just a matter of kind of getting on them,
Hmm.
and kind of getting into them. And so they were my, with just the three of us going out, they were fairly confident that we'd have a chance to encounter both species.
Okay.
So yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Now, if you wanted to, so it was a draw for the muzzleloader tag,
hmm,
right? Right.
yeah.
And so that first year, did you apply for an elk tag or did you
I did
apply
not.
for both? Okay, you did not. So,
Mm-mm.
and why didn't you apply for an elk tag?
Money, money,
Okay.
and the odds of drawing. I mean, they had put in for preference points the 2 previous years, so they had built up some points. I had not.
Mm,
So the odds of me actually drawing an elk tag were probably pretty low. Yeah, it's a lottery, I think. So
yep.
it's you still have a chance, but there's a huge difference in the price point. I think the elk tag is about twice as much. And, it's just one of those things where I was having to I had some other equipment that I needed to purchase. I had, just the traditional backpacking stuff. I needed a jet boil and I needed a gun. I didn't
Hmm.
have an inline at the time, so I had to buy an inline, and so that first trip was a little bit more pricey.
Yep.
I did have some things, and I was able to borrow some things off of a friend, but it was really just a matter of finances at that point, and
Yeah. So that was
so
the biggest hurdle at that first hunt was
yeah,
knowing like
yeah,
this is going to cost me at some point.
yeah. I mean that it's taking a vacation just for yourself
Yep.
for spending that kind of money when you have a family
Hmm.
it can be it's hard to ask for.
I
And
feel
it's
that,
sort of
dude.
hard to
I feel
justify.
that. Yeah.
And I think everybody, goes through that. And my wife is fantastic, and she knew that it was a dream of mine to go out and see it, and
Hmm.
she really didn't hesitate. She just kind of said, "Yeah, go for it."
Yeah.
So big kudos to her. And so, but I didn't want to push it too far. So,
Right.
you
Right.
got to know what battles to fight.
What were the conversations like between the guys who had already gone out there and you as far as what to be prepared for, whether that's terrain, gear, what to expect from animals, all that stuff?
Yeah, we talked a lot about just one of it was physical fitness.
Hmm.
You're doing a lot of hiking and you're doing a lot of hiking at elevation. I mean, I live here in Pennsylvania. I live at maybe a couple hundred feet because I'm close to the river. So, we camped at 10,000.
Hmm.
So, that the elevation is a real it's a
Kicking the
real
ass.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
Yeah,
it is
dude.
no joke whatsoever.
Hmm.
And so physical fitness was a big one. Just sort of being physically prepared for it. Food, gear, that was a lot of the conversation. Like, what would we eat? Would we have access to water or not?
Hmm.
Did we need to pack in our water?
Yeah.
What does it look like? Do you have the right gear to pack out meat if we needed to?
Hmm.
Um, and did we have the right know-how to do it?
Yeah.
And just stuff like that. It was really
Yeah.
just logistics,
Yeah.
how we would operate gas and whose truck we would drive, and just a lot of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So
wanted
go
yeah,
ahead.
I wanted to know the style of hunting that we would do. I mean, because
Right.
I'd never been out. So the only thing that I could go off of was like things I'd seen on YouTube and things like that, where guys are spotting and stalking, they're hiking a lot of miles,
Hmm.
camps on their back every day, um, and they definitely do things a little bit differently than what I had
Hmm.
seen. So
Yep.
it was interesting to sort of understand like we set up a camp and then hunted from camp,
Yep.
and came back to camp every day, and so
What
it
kind of
was an
camp?
interesting
Was it
tense.
like well, what I mean
Yeah,
by that is were you parked right next to your camp or did you
no,
park and then hike in and set up a spike
yeah,
camp and okay.
yes,
All right.
yeah, that's exactly
Gotcha.
what it was. Yeah, mhm,
Okay. And
yep.
did you have you kind of talked a little bit about the gear for that. What did you need to either buy or borrow for that first trip?
A jet boil was
Mhm.
one. Um, I had a pack. I had years ago hiked about 100 miles of the Appalachian Trail as
Okay.
part of a wilderness school that I was an instruct. I did a summer job between my
Mhm.
junior and senior year of college, so I
Yep.
had a nice Kelty pack that was about 3,600 cubic feet, or cubic inches. So
Yep.
I was kind of like I had some of that stuff. I had a ground pad, I had a sleeping bag, I had a tent, but it was some of the day to day stuff. Freeze dried meals
Mhm.
was a big one. Water filtration system. I needed that. I needed the gun. I needed powder. I needed the bullets. I needed
Mhm.
percussion caps.
Yeah.
I needed the other thing that I did buy a CVA Wolf, which is a really nice, um, cost effective gun, and it shoots really great. It's lightweight, so it's easy to pack. It's not a you know, uh, big heavy muzzle loader, but
Yeah.
had a hard time with the sights. And so, one of the biggest things I ended up having to do was I called a number of different places. I was able to find a peep sight, a rear peep sight, which increases your accuracy. It's just like picture you have through your bow. It looks just like you lining up your
Hmm.
sight in the bow. So I had a peep sight in the rear, and then I had to get an extender for my front sight because I kept shooting extremely low at short distances,
Yeah.
and I needed that front sight to come up. So I ended up getting a new front sight, and then I was able to put some accurate shots downrange because that was the biggest challenge was learning to shoot those open sights accurately. Spent a lot of
Yeah.
time on the bench shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's a time, it's not only the physical fitness part of it, but it's the
Yeah.
financial, and it's
Mhm.
this time component that is also going into the preparation, and you're not even in the hunt yet.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're gonna drive 1,700 miles one way,
Yeah.
you don't wanna miss. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't want your
Right.
equipment to fail. You don't want to be unprepared.
Yeah.
You don't want to not be able to physically do the hunt.
Yeah.
So, if you're gonna it is a significant financial investment. In order to,
Mhm.
really make good on that, you have to have some level of preparation. It's not
Right.
a just do it on a whim kinda hunt.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And then, so out of curiosity, what did your physical fitness regimen look like preparing for this?
Running,
Yeah.
running, and a lot of running, and a lot more running, and a lot more running, which I
Yeah.
hate.
Oh yeah.
It's not my favorite thing to do.
Hmm.
But I spent a lot of time running. Did a little bit, did some, I was doing weight training at the time, so I'd already, been doing
Yeah.
that. But and then it was, trying to slim down some pounds. I mean, I was really just
Yeah.
trying to be as lean as I could to be going out there because every little bit helps. And so, yeah, it was just a matter of
Yeah.
getting physically fit. And it was a lot of, I live it where I live, there's a hill and it's 1.1 miles to the top, and I would run that constantly, about a couple times a week, just to try to get used to climbing. And
Right.
so that was the big one.
Yeah. Man, and I'll tell you this, and I feel like a broken record because I talk about this a lot when it comes to the physical fitness. I got better results from I guess you would call it the running slash
Hmm.
putting heavy stuff on my back and hiking all
Yep.
the time, as
Yep.
opposed to like the weightlifting aspect
Yeah.
of it. Right. And so obviously strong legs are awesome to have in the mountains, but it was
Yeah.
the, it was the conditioning from not necessarily like a 45-minute lifting workout, but
Yeah.
more of like a 2 hour to 3 hour hike
Yep.
with 50 pounds on my back, as opposed
Yeah.
to, doing curls and bench press. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
guns are for show, legs are for go. So, yes, that's always been, it's always been true.
Right.
And so, yeah, conditioning, being able to just physically walk
Yeah.
with heavy weight on your back,
Yeah.
and climb. I will tell
Did,
you that no amount of conditioning here in Pennsylvania can adequately prepare you for elevation. There's
mhm.
nothing you can do. Um,
Yeah. Especially 10,000
I
feet.
no, and we parked the truck at about 9,000, so we had about 1,000 feet to climb, and I was winded just tying my boots, and I knew
Hmm.
I was in for it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we're in it now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a tough day, and it was very very difficult.
Did you like acclimate at all? Like, because 1,700
Yeah.
miles from where you're at one way to
Hmm.
Colorado, did you guys stop and get a hotel room one night, or did you just
Yeah.
blow right through it?
Yeah, we stopped at a town outside of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and we stayed at a hotel. Got some, went out to eat, had our last meal of real food before we hiked in the next morning.
Hmm.
But yeah, we spent a night, and the town that we were in is probably around 6,500 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel it a little bit just walking around town, walking to and from the restaurant.
Yeah.
And then, being in the hotel and stuff. So yeah, there's a little bit of acclimation period. But you really just never know how your body's going to respond.
Right.
I've heard stories of guys that were in really good condition and went out there and the altitude just kicked their butt.
Mm-hmm.
It it and it definitely did for me. It kicked my butt the
Yeah.
first day.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
And how far of a hike? You mentioned going up
Hmm.
1,000 feet, but how many
Yeah,
miles in from the truck to the camp?
it's not that far from a distance standpoint. It's half a linear mile,
Mm-hmm.
but it's straight up. It's a
Okay.
1,000 feet in half a linear mile. So you
Okay.
are going straight up
That's a bitch,
the
dude.
whole one.
Oh
Dude,
man.
it was like, there's a tree 10 yards from me. I'm going to
Yeah.
get to that tree. I'm going to get my breath, and then I'm going to pick another tree about 10 yards. And I did that the whole way up the mountain.
Man, that's
Yeah.
brutal. That is brutal.
Yeah.
I've bet
It,
I've been there,
it's,
dude.
it's not fun, but like, that's all part of it, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the appeal. I think, there's a sick, twisted part of our brains that likes a little bit of the hard stuff,
Yeah.
things that are difficult. I think that makes the successes a little bit more sweeter. And you
Yeah.
kind of know that up front. If I suffer now, I'm going to be rewarded later.
Yeah.
I've heard some people, it might have been Ranella, talked about, like, degrees of fun, and the
Mm-hmm.
things that suck in the moment are the most fun that you can
Yeah.
have, because those are the things that you look back on and start talk about. Remember that hike we took? Oh, that sucked, but it was so much
Yeah.
fun. Then you
Yeah.
ride a roller coaster and you forget about it. So it's
Right.
like, so I think that, the suffering and the difficulty and the challenge of it, makes is the thing that's appealing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Okay. So you bust your ass basically to get
Yeah.
to camp. Okay. Pretty much
Hmm.
straight up. And
Yep.
in that hike, were you having like, because I had this where we were out one day and we
Hmm.
walked and it was a struggle, but then we were like, okay, we can get back to camp in a shorter amount of time or
Hmm.
distance, but we got to go straight up and then we're going to go straight down.
Yeah.
Or we can take the long way around, which would just be way more time,
Yep.
and but an easier hike. And so
Yeah.
I didn't opt for it. Majority of the people in my group said, let's just go straight up and straight down. Right. Anyway, it
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in that period of time, the there was this part in my brain where it was like, you can't do this, dude. Like I couldn't breathe. My legs were burning. Like
Hmm.
there was a little bit of this negative
Oh
thoughts
yeah.
that creeped
Oh
into
yeah.
your head. And you're just like, turn around
Yeah.
and just die here because you're not built for this. You're not
Yeah.
whatever. I survived.
Yeah.
I'm here. Right.
Yeah.
What was that mental process like climbing up that hill?
I think if I was by myself, it would have been a lot difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think the three of us, and mind you, one of the guys in our group I had never met before until we got in the
Yeah.
truck to leave.
Yeah.
So, we just sort of got to know each other for the 28 hours drive on the way out and
Yeah.
the overnight in the hotel. It was, I really hadn't known this guy very long, and there's nothing like that to bond you very,
Oh
very
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
And we just picked each other up. I think there was at one point where one of the guys in the group looked at me. He's like, "Hey, dude, are you gonna make it?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, Heck yeah, I'm making it.
Yeah.
It just might be tomorrow, but I'm gonna make it." Um, I mean, I knew it's one of those things that you know where you got to get to. You
Yeah.
can almost see it really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, this is going to suck. It's going to be painful.
Yeah.
But I'm making it.
Right.
And, having the other guys there to sort of pick you up and encourage you
Yeah.
is a big thing. I think who you decide to go on these trips with, if I, had any advice to give anybody, be careful who you choose
Yeah.
to go on these trips with. Make sure it's guys that you trust and that you're
100%.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a big thing that we don't really talk about a lot on this is
Hmm.
the crew that you roll with, because
Absolutely.
I've been on certain hunts. I've never been like the peak athlete, right? Like the guy who's breaking, like just jumping over deadfall, and I've
Yeah.
never been that guy. But
Yeah.
I've been the slowest, weakest link before, and I could tell that I was frustrating my lack of, like, I was not there was a period of time where I was with these two guys, and they adapted better than I did. They were quicker than I was. They were
Yep.
probably in better shape than I was, and they were always waiting on me, and I could tell it was frustrating them.
Yeah.
So then the next two times I went out, I tried not to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I've been in a position where I've been the guy who's been last, but I've also been the guy who is getting frustrated on other people, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's important to find the right mix of person who's going to be going at your pace, and I don't know. So
Yeah. Big shout out to Mike. Big shout out to Nate. Those guys,
for
got me
not
through
leaving
that
you to
first
die.
that first one. Yeah, big yeah. Well, and I'll be honest, like again, not having any experience, my pack
Hmm.
was way too heavy.
Hmm.
Way too heavy. I had way too much stuff that I didn't need. And
Like
I
what?
absolutely extra clothes, extra we don't have access to running a water source up there. There's
Hmm.
watering holes, but no like running water. So you got to hike your water in,
Hmm.
and which creates a lot of weight. I had way too much water for that first
Oh,
trip.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I had way too much. We do a resupply, so you really only need enough water to go up for the first night, and then we go down, and go get our water and come back. And I had a big water cooler jug, 5-gallon jug. I just
Yeah.
put that in my pack and we had that up there for the rest of the week. So we had plenty of water after the second trip. The first trip, I just tried to take too much,
Yeah.
and my buddy Mike said, "Hey, give me some of your water.
Yeah.
I'll carry it for you." And I
Yeah.
mean, talk about a humbling experience. I did not want to do that. I was like, dude, I don't want to put more weight on you. And 2 gallons of
Hmm.
water is heavy. It's
Oh,
not
hell yeah.
light at all.
Yep.
And he put that right around his pack. He said, "I got it," and guy never flinched.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it that was
But he understood you were
humbling
new,
but great.
right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
And if
absolutely.
they
So
didn't
yeah.
know, they found out, right?
Well, I mean, you're carrying everything, dude. I mean,
Oh, hell
it's
yeah.
your clothes for the week. It's your every meal you're gonna have
Hmm.
every breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yep.
And I had to get better with making better decisions about food on the second trip.
Right.
And what actually constituted a meal and what didn't.
Right.
And how many calories to eat and consume and what was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Um, you don't want to hike down with food. You don't want to leave
Right.
the trip and have extra food in your bag because it was weight you didn't need.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that the pack was just too heavy the first. I mean, it was probably 95 pounds is
Yeah.
what my guess would be, and that's just
Yeah.
way too heavy, way too
Right.
heavy.
Yeah.
So,
That's
had to get a
ridiculous.
little
Yeah.
yeah, it was just stupid,
Yeah.
it was ignorance, I just didn't know,
Yeah.
and, I
Did you
definitely
weigh, out of curiosity, did
yeah,
you weigh your pack
sure did,
before? Yeah.
sure did. Sure
And you
did. I
said
think
you
the
said
water
90 pounds is acceptable.
well, I only weighed the pack, I didn't weigh the gun, I didn't weigh my
Ah,
binos, I didn't
yeah.
weigh the water, filled water
Hmm.
jugs. And that was the mistake. Yeah, my
Okay.
pack itself was pretty decently it was probably in the 60s, so it
Hmm.
wasn't terrible, but you add
Yeah.
gun, you add powder, you
Yep.
add, all that stuff, and then you start adding in your own gear and your binos and everything. It just starts to add up really, really
All
quickly.
on the feet.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that sucked getting to camp.
Oh, yeah.
But once you got to camp, Like, what was the thought process as you're setting up your tent? Like, did the pain and suffering turn to excitement?
No, it was survive. I just had I mean, once I hit camp, it was like, "All right, I need a minute." I
Yeah.
couldn't when I took my pack off, I could literally feel the blood rush back into my legs.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt that before. That was a
Yeah.
sensation like nothing else, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it was wild. So, it was, "Hey, let's hydrate. Let's take a minute here." And then it's like, "All right, we got stuff to set up." Um, I couldn't even
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the views on the way up. I mean, I was just in my
Yeah.
own misery, but
Yeah.
once we got to camp, once I got hydrated, got the sensation back in my legs, got a little bit of food. I think I ate like a Fig Newton bar or whatever, and
Yeah.
kind of got, replenished a little bit. Then it was, set up camp. Um,
Yeah.
we hike in on Friday. The season doesn't start till Saturday. So Friday is a great day to set up camp and and if we have some time, scout around and into some of the spots. Like I said, I had never been there before, so the guys wanted to walk me out to a spot called the Point. They call it the Point, and just sort of, hey, this is where you can go tomorrow. We'll kind of show you the rest of it later,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a good spot for you to go tomorrow and just set up and hang out, and that way you're not getting, not getting
Yeah.
yourself lost.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But then it was
So,
like, I mean, you're in a different planet in
right.
Colorado. I mean, it's like nothing you've ever seen in Pennsylvania. If
Right.
you're only a guy that's only hunted PA, Pennsylvania's great, and I love it. I would never. I'm never leaving. I'm not never leaving
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania. But
Yeah.
Colorado is magical. It really is.
Yeah.
You just
Yep.
don't see stuff like that. And when
Right.
you have a moment to sort of look around and see where you're at, it's like, holy cow, this is a
Yeah.
different planet. It's a different planet.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what were the conversations like between you and the other guys with you only having a mule deer tag and they both had elk tags?
I had bull elk tags and they had mule deer tags in their pocket, so they could shoot either a mule deer or an elk.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And so, what was the
Hmm.
conversation like where you didn't have an elk tag? So, there's no
Hmm.
point of you kind of looking like, were you still going to tag along with them, or what was the strategy once you guys got up there?
So we'd split up. We split up three different ways. We kind of
Mhm.
picked different spots in the morning. We'd start close to camp to start the hunt, and then start working our way out away from camp a little further as the days went on, to sort of explore, and that way we're not necessarily spreading human scent everywhere,
Right.
way out the first day.
Hmm.
So it was really, hey, if you see an elk, let us know, kind of
Hmm.
thing, or if you hear an elk, let us know. And then, I was happy to sort of give up that spot if those guys want to go in there and chase that elk.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's like second week of September, so it's still a little early in that rut period for the elk. That first morning that I hunted, I did have an elk bugling below me, which was really cool. Never did see him. I could hear him crashing through the timber. I
Hmm.
never really could lay my eyes on him.
Yeah.
And that's about as close as I got to a live elk that
Yeah.
week. But yeah, and I, came back to camp, told the guys about it. Sometimes it's public land. So we're White River National Forest. It's public land. So hard to say if it was a hunter or not.
Yeah.
What I heard crashing through the timber did not sound like a person walking.
Yeah.
It sounded like a big hooved animal,
Yeah.
banging through the trees, but, you know, never did lay eyes on him.
Okay. So, what was the goal? Every like you woke up in the morning, you went to the point. What was the goal of the
Mhm.
day?
I think it changed a little bit as the week went on. I think that first day, I wanted to just sort of get familiar with the area.
Hmm.
I also wanted to, you know, I wanted to look for sign.
Yeah.
Hunting in Pennsylvania, it's all about looking for rubs and scrapes and looking
Hmm.
for sign. And, those instincts don't go away. So when you're
Yep.
out there, it was like, I'm going to look for sign. I'm going to look for tracks. I'm going to look for droppings. I'm going to look for rubs. Um, I'm going to look for whatever I can find that
Yeah.
looks like there's activity in an area. Um, what I what I was surprised by was the fact that the way that they hunt is very similar to how we hunt in PA. It is ambush.
Mhm.
It's not, this area that we hunt is not conducive to spot and stalk. It's
Yeah.
big timber on the top, big dark, timber, and then aspen on, a few thousand feet below. And then there's open prairies in between. And these deer and elk transition between those two things morning and evening. And
Okay.
they're coming up in the morning, they're going down in the evening. And you're just trying to intercept them. And
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a lot of glassing, a lot of, putting eyes on deer and then letting them bed down and then going in and trying to put a stalk on them. We were hunting them just like you would a whitetail. It
Okay.
was, let's ambush them. Um,
Yeah.
for the elk, they were focusing on wallows. They were looking to find like active wallows, which ended up being a successful strategy for one of my buddies. But looking for wallows, this was the biggest thing. Looking for that
Yeah.
fresh, stinky mud wallow that those
Yeah.
bulls are going to be coming to periodically. So
Okay.
that's kind of the style that we used.
Gotcha. So you didn't have an elk tag. So
No,
what did you do? Just like sit on meadows and just sit there in the morning and then sit there back in the evening and
I
just
look,
wait
yeah,
for deer movement?
these guys had spots that they had encountered deer in the past,
Yeah.
shot deer in the past. They had it on their onX maps, and so I had done an offline and was able to get on my maps and you know go to different spots. Yeah, it was basically wait, sit in the morning,
Yeah.
and then in the middle of the day you could the deer and the elk are active in the middle of the day. They're getting up, they're moving. They're typically moving from like wallow to wallow, or you've got bulls that are checking cows or whatever. So they do move during the day. They don't move as much, but those guys had experience with. I mean, the one guy had shot an elk a couple years prior at 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
sitting on a spot in the middle of this dark timber, and he was transitioning from one spot to the next in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So in those down we there was some downtime, where you could come back, you could eat a good meal, refresh, and then go back out and sit and ambush in the evening.
Gotcha. How many miles or what kind of distances were you traveling back and forth from camp every
Mhm.
day?
We figured out that we were putting on our feet on a daily basis anywhere between 7 to 10 miles a day.
Okay.
So you sit in your ambush, you walk out to your ambush spot, you sit there, kind of wait and see how the morning plays out, and then maybe you do some still hunting through the timber, seeing if you can, get a deer up or whatever, or bump into an elk, and then come back to camp, maybe do the same thing in the evening, kind of scout
Yeah.
through the timber, and then dump into your spot. So we were doing anywhere between like 7 to 10 miles a day,
Yeah.
to and from
And how were you handling that compared to
that.
the first hell hike up?
Yeah, so you talk about being the weakest link. I definitely was the first trip up.
Yep.
But when we went down, uh, so we hunted Saturday morning and then hiked down to the truck to grab our water and hike back up then, just in time for the Saturday hunt, the evening hunt. The second trip was much better. I
Yeah.
handled it much better. I mean, we're not carrying as much weight, of course, but
Yeah.
still handled it much better. And on the third, when we were eventually successful with killing an elk, hiking down to hang the meat down by the truck and doing that third trip, I felt great. I felt good to go. I didn't
Yeah.
want to do it again. I said if I shoot something, I'm staying down at the truck the rest of the week. But I was handling it much better.
Right.
So, and we aren't gaining a ton of elevation, as we hike around our to and from our hunting spots. It Once we're at camp, we're sort of at the highest peak we're going to be. We might climb a few 100 feet or even 1,000 feet at a time. Nothing like that first day. So
Yeah. Okay. I
yeah,
feel you. I gotcha. All right. So how many days, or let me ask you this question.
yeah.
Were you seeing animals immediately?
I was not.
Okay.
Um, I was not. The two other gentlemen who I was with, they had some encounters early. I saw my first mule deer. So we started to hunt on Saturday. Sunday evening, I saw my first mule deer. I had a group of 8 does come out and come out of the timber and walk 80 yards from me.
Yeah.
Not a horn on one, so I couldn't do
Yeah.
anything about it. But it was cool to
So
see
it
him.
was antler only tag.
Yeah, I had an antler tag. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So it was not an any sex tag.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
Nope.
Okay. So it took you a while to see game. How long until were the other guys seeing elk every day, or was it just dry there throughout this period of time?
They were seeing deer, and so that Sunday night that I saw the mule deer, a friend, one of the guys in the group, decided to hunt a really secluded meadow in the middle of this dark timber,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't know it at the time, but he found a very active wallow and sat on it, and about half hour before dark, we heard a shot,
Mm-hmm.
and so came back to camp, and he had told us he had killed a bull. So
Okay.
so by Sunday evening, we had what we were very sure was a bull down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he, muzzleloaders are. I have come to find out the muzzleloaders they don't leave much of a blood trail.
Really?
And so when he shot, the bull sort of ran one direction, did a whole 180, turned back and ran the other direction, and crashed through the timber. And he wasn't quite sure of the shot. It's open sight, so you just never quite know.
Right.
And so we decided to let that bull sit for the night, and then we
Mm-hmm.
went back in and recovered him that Monday morning.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, how long did it? So he did he know where this bull was at, or you let him set overnight and then you just went to look for him in daylight, essentially?
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a fairly good idea. He had a good idea of where he exited the meadow.
Yeah.
And the way he described how the bull acted, I'm like, that's a dead. I've seen animals fatally shot. That's how
Yeah.
they act. I assume the elk are going to do the same thing as whitetails.
Yeah.
Um, and when they're erratic like that, they're just trying to survive,
Yeah.
and so they're hurting pretty bad. So we felt very confident. We ended up going into that meadow in the morning and sat the morning hunt and
Gotcha.
encountered some deer. I actually put a stalk on a deer. So this meadow's is in the shape of an L, and
Mm-hmm.
there we were in far back corner. I could see antlers, and so I crawled through the meadow into this corner to see if I could get a shot, and it was a little 3x3 uh, mule deer, which I was happy to take. I'm not picky going on these
Yeah.
trips, so I just couldn't get a clear shot, and then he kind of moved off. But we
Yeah.
ended up encountering some deer in that meadow the next morning, and then we just sort of couldn't. Curiosity got the better of us, so we got up and looked for blood and
Yeah.
found the blood, and then we were able to find the bull fairly quickly after that.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you packed him out, got him back to the truck.
Yep.
Any major issues there, or learning experiences from packing out an elk?
So, well, I only had experience with butchering. I butcher my own deer here at the house,
Yeah.
so I know how to quarter up a deer. Um, a big 700-pound animal is a little different, but the anatomy is pretty much the same. It's just on a
Mm-hmm.
larger scale.
Yeah.
So, kind of those guys they're like, hey, you probably know better than us what to do here. So walk us through it, and we just kind of came up with a game plan, got it all parceled out, and got it into game bags, and it wasn't too bad. It really wasn't. It was. I actually had a lot of fun doing it. That was one
Mm-hmm.
of the more fun parts of the trip. Was just obviously the celebration of killing something,
Mm-hmm.
and doing it there with those guys, and it's memory you'll have forever. But I'd always wanted to quarter and pack an elk out. I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like a fun experience to have, and
Yeah.
yeah, it lived up to the hype.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was,
And
yeah,
so that was the only kill in the group,
on
right?
that trip.
On
Yeah,
that trip. Yep.
so we hiked back to camp that day. Took the tenderloins we kept them at camp. Hung the meat close to camp, but far enough away that if anything got into, came in for it, we'd be able to
Yep.
scare it off. And then hunted Sunday night. And Sunday night is when I had my opportunity. So I actually went back to that original spot, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I needed to be down off the top because the wind would be carrying my scent down. And the deer would be coming from above me. And I had a really nice 4x4 come out just above me. And the mule deer are different than whitetail. They move so slow. They're not in a hurry to go anywhere. Um, and I don't know if that's just because they're not pressured as much, or they're trying not to draw attention to themselves because there's a lot of stuff out there trying to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know, but they just move differently. They behave differently. And when I first saw him, all I could see was from his chin up because of the elevation difference. He was up above me, and it got to me, and I made some really stupid mistakes, and he ended up
Yeah.
catching me, and took a couple hops like they do. They
Mm-hmm.
spring off their 4 feet at once, and when he stopped, I, I settled the bead and pulled the trigger, and I guarantee you I jerked that thing so
Oh yeah.
way over his back or underneath him. I'm sure it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And all the excitement, he bounded off down the mountain, and it looked like I'd hit him because the way he was running.
Yeah.
So I ran up to the spot to check, and nothing. And so I
Yeah.
kind of got on this deer trail that he was on, and all of a sudden, boom, there he is, like 70 yards from me, looking at me. And in all of the excitement, I forgot to reload my gun.
Oh,
So I'm
bummer.
sitting there with I'm sitting there with an empty gun, and uh, you know, again, I think I was 40 years old at the time of that trip, and I'd been part of a lot of successful hunts, and
Mm-hmm.
never forgot to reload my gun.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
happens,
It
and
happens, man.
yeah,
And so,
that,
okay. So you at least you had an opportunity, right?
yeah, I did,
Yeah.
and that was yeah,
Was
it
that
was
the
a
only
tough one to.
opportunity?
That's the only one I had that week. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
went
Okay.
we went the rest of the hunt with pretty minimal sightings, and then lost
Yeah.
a whole day. Well, really 2 days of the hunt due to weather. So it rained.
Okay.
I mean, they told me it
Rain.
never rains here. Yeah, they say, oh, it never rains
Yeah.
here. We've never had a problem with weather. Well, it started raining on Wednesday and didn't stop all of Wednesday, and then didn't stop
Yeah.
on Thursday. And it's like, hey guys, we need to. That's where it got hairy. That's that first trip getting out was the worst part. Because
Like,
when that dirt gets wet, it turns into pottery clay,
yeah.
and your tires are no match for that stuff.
Yeah.
And we ended up having to put snow chains on my truck tires, all
Yeah.
four of them, and I took four-wheel low for 13 miles to get out, and white knuckled the whole way. And it was like, yeah. And it was
Yeah.
raining on us the whole time. And so it was like we made the decision to leave early.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we did. And I think we all sort of agreed that it was the right decision. Yeah, it
Yeah.
cost us a day of the hunt, but I was able to get home.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, yeah.
Okay. So overall, first experience, mule deer hunting, elk hunting, like
Yeah,
thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, did you love
absolutely.
it? Yeah.
I said to the guys, I'm like, this is going to be a one and done trip for me. Just because of, family stuff or what. I just want to
Yeah.
experience it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was not a one and done trip.
Yeah.
It's magical. It really is, the whole experience of it all. I'm so bonded with those guys.
Yeah.
So the friendships are, to be those that close with those guys is
Yeah.
awesome. I think just the experience of it the views, the animals, um, just everything that trip sort of
Yeah.
takes, mentally and physically. It's addicting.
Yeah.
And I think they knew that. They knew that I was kind of full of it when I said that. And I definitely was. Well, as soon as I got home, I'm like, when we going again? I
Right.
can't wait.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you know that you were going to go back the next year?
So they typically go on every other year rotation,
Gotcha.
just because of some stuff. The one guy, he had a daughter that was graduating high school, and so we weren't able to go. So we went. The first trip was in 22. 24 would have been the every other year. His daughter was graduating high school. I think he was also it was a big, anniversary for him and the wife. They had a big trip planned. So we waited till 25, and then so 25 was the next trip that we went
Okay.
out.
All right. So
Yeah.
this past season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So what did you learn to do better or different planning and prepping for this second trip?
Yeah. More cardio, a
Yeah.
lot more cardio, a lot more running. Um, I I don't know. I wasn't doing a lot of like weight training. I was doing a lot of like hit style training, so like a lot of high
Yeah.
intensity stuff, but then a lot of cardio, just a lot of run.
Okay.
As far as equipment, little leaner and meaner with the meals. Lunches were, instead of doing a freeze dried, big heavy freeze dried meal, which it doesn't seem like much, but it can add up. I was doing just ramen noodles and tuna fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then some snacks here and there.
Yeah.
Um, I was more confident with my gun and my
Mm-hmm.
weapon, so I felt better about that. Um, I think I bought a new tent that I felt a little bit better about. The first trip I had a nice tent, but I felt better about the second one. Um, yeah, just minute changes here or there. Um, and again, you know what to expect. There's not a lot of mystery to it now. Um,
Yeah.
it's more I can focus on the hunt. I don't have to
Yeah.
focus on all the other stuff. I'm prepared.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
did you guys go back to the same location then?
yep, yep.
Yep.
Went to the exact same spot. That's again that spot, that campsite had been established back in the 90s,
Right.
so it had places to hang meat. It had tent sites. We had a tarp that we were able to put up over a little campfire and kind of have
Mm-hmm.
our meal station set there. We had everything we needed. The thing that was different about the first trip and the second trip was the first trip we had we had issues with cows. And I'm talking beef cows.
Yeah. Cattle. Yeah.
They were all over the place up there. And I think it really hurt the game that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they tolerated cows being in their water holes and eating their grass and getting into their areas.
Yeah.
And we had cows come through camp. We had cows. We had to chase. My one buddy, I'll never laugh so hard in my life. He's chasing cows out of our campsite. He has a headlamp on, his tighty whities, and his boots, and he's chasing these cows down, down through the meadow. And all we see is his light disappear, and then he comes back. And the next day is when we were going in after my buddy's elk. And when we came back to camp, the cows had come into camp and stomped all of his stuff, and it was
Oh
just
my
his stuff.
God.
It was so weird, but chewed up a brand new like Sitka baseball hat, like had chewed that up and spit it out. I mean, it was soaking wet with just
Yeah.
cow drool.
Oh my God.
Um,
That's
it
hilarious.
was it was awful, man. It really was. So, and broke his trekking pole and stomped on his tent and all
Uh,
sorts. So it was just a mess. But yeah, it really the cows were a problem. The second year, the second trip we went out, no cows.
and did
Um,
that then turn into more game?
Well, I mean, we Friday night we're sitting around the campfire and two does walked right through our campsite.
Yeah.
I mean, right through our campsite.
Big
I mean,
impact
20
then.
yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So a little bit different planning and preparation. You got some upgrades on
Yep.
the gear. You kind of,
Yep.
the cool thing is that you had some time to you had
Yeah.
multiple years there where you were
Mhm.
I don't know, curating a different
Yeah.
approach to that.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so talk to me about what year number 2 was like
Oh,
versus year
I mean,
number 1.
the hike was still a pain in the rear end. I mean, he still suffered.
Yeah.
Didn't suffer as much, but suffered.
Yeah.
Um, got that was it was more about the weather
Mhm.
in the second trip. We had horrible weather. We
Mhm.
lost whole half days to snow, uh, sleet, hail, thunder, lightning, rain,
Mhm.
and then you have sunshine.
Yep.
It was colder. The temperatures were a lot colder. I froze at night. I was not prepared for that. My sleeping bag was sufficient the first year. Didn't think it would be a problem. The second year, I was going to sleep with every stitch of clothing I had
Yeah,
packed,
dude.
just trying to
Yeah.
stay warm at night. So that was a little bit rough. Um, but we had success right off the bat. My buddy and I both shot bucks the second morning of the hunt,
Okay.
and yeah, so that was a fun day. And yeah, so I mean, we counted a lot more deer, and that was early on. We saw a lot of game in the first like 3 days of the hunt,
Yep.
and then it kind of dried up a little bit for a while.
Yep.
So it's tough.
Yeah. But overall, you know, what what were you more confident in as far as a strategy or just being mobile in the mountains compared to the first year?
Yeah, I think it was I just was trusting the sign.
Yeah.
I took that first morning, that Saturday morning, and I scouted.
Yeah.
I went to different areas. I looked for rubs. I found rubs. I found scrapes. I'd never seen a mule deer scrape.
Mhm.
Found one of them. Found some places where the deer and the elk had been eating the aspen bark. You could see the teeth marks in the trees. And
Wow.
I found an area and I kind of read the sign in a way that you would do here in the mountains of PA. And I'm like, these deer are coming up this draw. They're using this aspen grove to get to this dark timber. I'm sitting here in the morning and my wind's going to be going down the mountain. I'm going to catch them before they ever get there. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Awesome, man. Big mule deer that you killed?
No,
No?
no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
dude. And I don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
funny story. I did I did encounter a big one.
Mhm.
So I heard my buddy shoot and thought, okay, I might go help him. And I kind of got out of my spot. I took like 3 steps and I heard this, rustle below me, and I looked, and there's a giant mule deer bounding away from me. He was
Mhm.
walking. Had I waited 5 more minutes, he'd have walked right to me. I mean, within
Oh my
archery
god.
range.
Oh my
I mean,
god.
and I don't know what like a yeah, I've seen some big deer here in PA, but I've never
Yeah.
seen anything like that.
Yeah.
It's the biggest set of antlers I've ever seen, and
Yeah.
I got to watch him run away from me,
Now he's in
and
your
I thought,
dreams, dude.
"Yo, dude," and then it was like, "Oh man, I screwed up my chance."
Yeah.
I screwed up my chance, and I happened to just look back to where I was standing, and there's a buck standing right there, and I didn't hesitate, cocked the hammer, and pow, and
Yeah.
I knew it was a legal deer. It was just a little fork-horn buck, and I don't care at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just as excited. I was just as pumped. And it was, you know, meat in the cooler. So
Yeah.
I didn't really, it didn't bother me at all.
That's
Nope, I
awesome, man.
didn't. Yeah.
Now, you've done it 2 years.
Yeah.
Has this become a tradition now? Is this something you plan on doing every other year moving forward?
I think we'll go back out. I think, uh, it'll probably be a little while yet till we go back out just because of some family stuff. I mean,
Yep.
I got a son going to graduate high school in a couple years. My buddy's daughter, she's graduating next year. And, those are big things. And we want to make sure that, we're prioritizing that.
Yep.
Kids going off to college and having senior seasons and sports and
Mhm.
those types of things. I don't want to miss those things.
Yep.
So it probably will be 28 or 29 till we get back out, but,
Yeah.
you know, I'll go as often as I can and as long as I'm physically able to.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
The greatest regret I have is I didn't do this sooner. I should have done this in
Oh,
my
fact,
20s. Yeah,
fact. Fact that
100%.
that
Yeah.
that would be one of my, if I really had to I don't regret much because I'm that guy who believes that everything happens for a reason, and I'm right here right now talking to you because
Mhm.
that's my
Yeah,
life path, right?
yeah.
But if I was to go really digging for regrets, there's like an 11-year period there where I
Mhm.
should have been out west in a
Yeah.
van shooting whatever it was, like everything,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and I look back, I kind of regret that, but now I don't need to live in a van. I don't need, I can do it, but I
yeah,
don't need to be in a van. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
although I don't know, man, I still have a lot to accomplish. Has this kind of sparked interest doing other Western hunts like archery or different species?
Um, I know I'm always open to it.
Yeah.
I think it's about the opportunity and the people.
Yeah.
And I told you, when I reached out to you about doing this podcast, those two experiences in Colorado changed how I view hunting,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And, I've got kids, both of them hunt. My youngest shot his first buck this year. They've been successful hunters.
Hmm.
Um, my dad still hunts. And so it's one of those things where it's all about the experience for me.
Yeah.
I fell trapped to the big buck craze and all of that,
Yep.
where it needed to have a big rack to be exciting. And, I-
Yeah.
you know, this was more, the Colorado piece of this was, wild things in wild places,
Yeah.
and being able to keep that and maintain that, not just for myself and for guys our age, but also, my kids, their kids, and down the line. And I think that, my hunting now is all about the experience.
Yeah.
So if I got to do a hunt with some friends that I really wanted to spend some time with and go out and, like in a couple weeks, I'm going to shoot stingrays in the bay down here in Delaware. That's a blast. It's a ton of fun.
Hell yeah, dude.
But I get to go with guys that I really enjoy hanging out with.
Yeah.
So I think that's, if an opportunity came where it was with good people, I'd jump at it.
Hell
Absolutely.
yeah.
Am I chasing it? No, not really. I'm happy going to Colorado every couple years. Um, like I said, if I was in my 20s, I might think differently about it.
Yeah.
I might have caught the bug and really, but I'm happy with the opportunities that I've had. I'm happy with whatever opportunities will come. And I'm not really chasing it at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, it sounds like it's been a blast. It's been a life-changing experience for you. Dude, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to hop on and BS with us and share the story about
Yeah,
these
man.
hunts. And hopefully what this does is it allows others to have a little insight on what they can do when they're planning some of their first Western hunts. So thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate it. Been a long time listener, and love the stuff you put out, man. You just no fluff, no BS, just straight truth. And I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one,
Of
man.
course, man. Yeah, you too.
All right.